It was a frigid winter afternoon in Vermont, and my friends and I were savoring every moment of our skiing trip. Ethan had planned the whole thing, and Lucas had driven us to what I think was Killington, though I'm not entirely sure. The mountain was enormous, with countless trails and lifts, and even after nearly 2 days of skiing, there were still runs we hadn't tried. We were a tight-knit group of 4: Ethan, Lucas, Noah, and me, Sam. All in our early 20s, we were college students reveling in the freedom of youth and the rush of the slopes. Skiing was second nature to us. Our parents had been avid skiers, and they'd taught us the sport practically from the moment we could stand. It was the second day, and with just an hour left before the lifts shut down, we were debating how to cap off our adventure. That's when 2 women skied up to us. They introduced themselves as Taylor and Devin, strikingly beautiful, with an air of confidence that caught us off guard. They said they were tired of the older crowd dominating the mountain and were looking for some excitement. Devin, in particular, knew her stuff. She peppered Noah with detailed questions about his skis. He and Lucas owned their own, while Ethan and I stuck to rentals. The women seemed genuinely impressed, and we fell into an easy conversation. They spotted our fireball shooters and poked fun at us for it. Then Devin pulled out an unmarked bottle, daring us to try something with more kick. We agreed, but I was wary. I faked a sip, my instincts tingling with unease. They pitched an idea: ski a trail called Devil's Forest, a rare glade run that wasn't often open. We loved glade skiing. Navigating through trees was our thing. So we were hooked. They let us off. But to get there, we had to ditch our skis and hike uphill, which struck me as odd. As we trudged upward, Ethan muttered to me that it didn't make sense for a trail to be so out of the way, with no lift access. I nodded, sharing his suspicion, but we pressed on, keeping our eyes peeled. At the trailhead, Devin urged us to finish the bottle. Noah and Lucas downed big gulps, but Ethan hesitated. She pushed him, and he caved, taking a swig. When it reached me, I faked it again, my gut screaming caution. We skied down the trail, weaving through the trees. But when we hit the bottom, there was no lift, just forest all around. I challenged the women, and they brushed it off, saying the lift was close. Then, out of nowhere, Lucas dropped, followed by Noah. Panic surged through me. They'd been drugged. Ethan stepped toward the women, demanding answers, but he collapsed too. My head spun, but I fought to stay upright. The women watched me, expecting me to fall. When I didn't, their masks slipped. Annoyance flashed across their faces. They grabbed Noah and Lucas's skis and took off. I stumbled after them, legs shaky, and caught sight of them meeting 4 burly men at a van on the far side of the mountain. One pointed at me, and dread hit hard. I was way out of my depth. I turned back, racing to my friends who were still out cold. Time crawled as I waited. Finally, Ethan stirred. Together, we roused Noah and Lucas. When they came to, we filled them in. We didn't know who those people were or what they wanted, but we were damn lucky to be in one piece. We reported it to the police, but it went nowhere. The whole thing left us rattled, and we still wonder what might have happened if I hadn't held back on that drink. The trip had started out so normal. 2 days of tearing down double blacks, racing each other, and sipping Fireball to keep the vibe alive. That last hour flipped everything upside down. Taylor and Devin had seemed harmless at first, chatting us up like old friends. Devin's ski talk had won Noah over, and Taylor's playful jabs had us laughing. But that bottle, the trek to Devil's Forest, it was all a setup. Looking back, the signs were there. The uphill hike, the missing lift, the way they didn't touch the drink themselves. I keep replaying it, wondering who those men were, what they planned. Robbery? Something darker? Noah's skis were pricey, sure, but the effort felt excessive for a theft. The mountain staff swore they'd look into it, but we had to hit the road. The cops took our statements seriously, said they'd follow up, but years later, we've heard nothing. It even made local news briefly, a weird blip about some college kids and a sketchy encounter. No answers, though. We're different now, more cautious, less reckless. That day stuck with us, a cold reminder that even on a mountain, amid the snow and freedom, danger can lurk just out of sight. Our family has this little cabin in Colorado where we go every winter. My parents love skiing, and they've been taking us there since I was a baby. The cabin is old and creaky, but it's full of memories. I remember the smell of hot cocoa and the sound of the fire crackling after a day in the snow. That year, when I was 8, there was a huge blizzard. The snow was piling up so fast you could barely see the trees outside. My brother Matt, who was 11, and I were super excited to play in it. We had this game we always played, kind of like capture the flag but with snowballs. We'd each build a fort and hide a big snowball, which we called the treasure. The goal was to sneak into the other's fort, grab the treasure, and bring it back to your own fort without getting hit by a snowball. It was the best game ever. Matt decided to make his fort on the neighbor's property down the road. We hardly ever saw anyone there, so it was like having an extra playground. I set up my fort near our cabin, behind a big pine tree. Once we were ready, Matt would blow a whistle to start the game. I waited and waited, but the whistle never came. It felt like forever. I started to worry that maybe Matt had gotten lost or something. Finally, I decided to go check on him. I trudged through the deep snow, following the path down the road. The wind was howling, and the snowflakes were so thick I could barely see. As I got closer to the neighbor's house, I noticed footprints leading from the woods to their front door. Suddenly, a voice called out, "Hello there, are you looking for someone?" I turned and saw a woman standing on the porch. She looked old, with gray hair and a weird smile. Something about her made me feel uneasy. I glanced up at the house and saw someone peeking out from an upstairs window. It looked like they were wearing a black hat, and their face was half hidden. The way they stared at me made my skin crawl. For a second, I thought it might be Matt. But then I realized the footprints near the house turned back towards the woods. That's when I knew Matt wasn't there. The woman said, "Why don't you come inside and warm up? It's freezing out here." Her voice was sweet, but her eyes were cold and calculating. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. I shook my head and shouted, "Matt, where are you?" My voice echoed through the trees, but there was no answer. The woman stopped smiling and looked angry. I heard heavy footsteps coming from inside the house, like someone was running down the stairs. Downstairs. That's when I knew I had to get out of there. I turned and ran as fast as I could through the snow. As I was running, I heard my dad's special whistle, the one he used to call us home for dinner. It was coming from up the hill near our cabin. I felt a wave of relief and pushed myself to run faster. When I finally made it back, Dad and Matt were there looking worried. Matt said, "There were people in the neighbor's house telling me to come inside." I told them the same thing happened to me. Dad grabbed his hunting rifle and told us to stay with Mom while he went to check. After what felt like hours, Dad came back. He said the front door was locked, and no one answered when he knocked. We went to another neighbor's house, and they called the owners of the property. It turned out no one was supposed to be there that weekend. The police came and searched the house, but they didn't find anyone. They said the back door was unlocked, which was strange. My parents were really scared and decided to take all our valuable stuff home, just in case. After that, we never played on the neighbor's property again. Even now, when I think about that day, I get chills. I'm so glad I didn't go inside that house. Who knows what could have happened? The police never found out who those people were, and the mystery still haunts me. Every time we visit the cabin, I look at that house and wonder what was really going on that day. It was a frigid January afternoon when my friends Sam, Riley, and I set out for our annual winter camping trip. We were all in our late 20s, seasoned outdoors enthusiasts who craved the stark beauty and isolation of the season. This year, we'd chosen a remote spot in the Adirondacks, a place renowned for its pristine snowfields and dense, silent forests. The air bit at our faces as we hiked in with our gear, but the promise of a quiet weekend kept us moving. We reached a small clearing by late afternoon, the sun already sinking behind the pines. The snow was deep, untouched except for our tracks, and we quickly set up camp. 2 tents, a fire pit, and a stash of supplies secured against the cold. As we worked, I noticed a lone tent about 100 yards off, its faded green fabric stark against the white landscape. It was strange. This area was off the beaten path, especially in winter. "Should we check it out?" Sam asked, brushing snow from his gloves. "Why not?" Riley replied. "Could be nice to have a neighbor." We trudged over, our breath clouding in the icy air. A man stepped out of the tent, tall, lean, with a scruffy beard and a disarming grin. "Hey folks, I'm Ethan," he called, waving us closer. He said he was out here for the solitude, same as us, and we swapped stories about the trails and the weather. He seemed genuine, even charming, and when he invited us to share his campfire that night, we agreed. A little company couldn't hurt, right? Night fell fast, the temperature plunging as stars pierced the black sky. We joined Ethan at his fire, the crackling logs a welcome warmth. At first, it was pleasant. He shared some trail mix, and we laughed about past camping mishaps. But as the hours ticked by, Ethan's questions sharpened. Where were we from? What gear did we bring? How long were we staying? His curiosity felt like a probe, and I caught Sam shifting uncomfortably. Then Ethan leaned in, his eyes glinting. "There's this spot not far from here, a frozen waterfall. Best view in the park, especially at night. Want to see it?" I hesitated. It was late, and the cold was brutal. "Maybe tomorrow," I suggested. "Oh, come on," Ethan pressed, his smile tight. "It's a quick hike. You won't find anything like it." Riley shrugged. "Sounds cool. Let's go." Against my better judgment, I followed. Ethan led us through the woods, his flashlight slicing through the darkness. The path was rough, snow-covered roots and uneven ground, and he kept glancing back, like he was counting us. My stomach twisted, but I couldn't pinpoint why. After 15 minutes, we stopped in a small hollow, the waterfall a faint shimmer in the distance. It was beautiful, sure, but something felt wrong. Ethan clapped his hands. "Wait here. I forgot something at camp. Be right back." Before we could argue, he vanished into the trees. "What the hell?" Sam muttered. "Why drag us out here and ditch us?" "Let's head back," I said, unease clawing at me. We started retracing our steps, the silence heavy except for the crunch of snow. Then, a rustle in the woods behind us. My pulse spiked. "You hear that?" Riley nodded, eyes wide. We moved faster, nearly running, until our campsite came into view. My heart sank. Our gear was scattered, bags unzipped, food and a lantern gone. "Someone's been here," Sam hissed, kicking at the mess. It was Ethan, I realized. He lured us away to rob us. We scrambled to pack what remained, adrenaline surging. As we worked, I spotted a figure in the trees, Ethan, watching us, motionless. He didn't move closer, just stood there, a shadow against the snow. We didn't wait to see what he'd do. We grabbed our packs and bolted for the trailhead, the cold searing our lungs. The hike back to the car was a blur, our flashlight beams bouncing wildly. We piled in, Riley gunning the engine, and didn't speak until we hit the main road. "What was his deal?" Sam finally asked, voice shaky. "No clue," I said, "but we're lucky it was just our stuff he wanted." The next morning, we reported it to the local ranger station. The officer's face hardened when we described Ethan. "Matches a guy we've heard about," he said. "Been hitting campers out here, stealing gear, maybe more. Slippery bastard. Never sticks around long enough to get caught." We'd escaped with our lives, but the what-ifs gnawed at me. The ranger figured Ethan was a drifter, preying on the isolated, but the way he'd watched us from the trees hinted at something darker. We still camp every winter, but now we stick to busier sites, always checking the shadows. The wilderness is beautiful, but it hides things. People, best left undisturbed.